Welcome to another edition of Believe in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks, and the season is here, CB. It's going to be an exciting weekend with the Fan Fest and the 5K on Saturday, and then obviously
Mhm.
all the festivities on Sunday. But while we could get swept up in all of this top 100 and 100 seasons, there's a football game that has to be played on Sunday, and that is the most important thing, the game.
Yeah, it is the most important thing, and it's going to be interesting because the first month of the season, most teams, all teams are going to have some type of rust. It's either going to be tackling, lack of execution, but you have to win sloppy. This first couple weeks of the season, and I think every team understands that. There's a lot that is this on the line right now, quite frankly, for this Giant team for the season. This is a marathon, not a sprint. But this offensive line has to come together, which it looks like it is. The quarterback has to, show and prove this year. Your defensive backfield, and I'm going to just kind of prepare fans for what you might see early on this year. It could be shades of Steve Spagnuolo early with the Giants, early in the seasons with the Giants, where a lot of yards were given up, and it took a minute for them to come together. But the thing that you're probably gonna see is some big plays against this young defensive backfield, and so prepare yourself for that. But the key to all of that, and I think it's one of the hallmarks of this defensive staff, is to play really good red zone defense. And that's kind of where you see the league when you have some deficiencies and there's only so much you can do in the field of play. You get better when the field shrinks, when the offense doesn't have a lot of room to operate. And that's where Shane Bowen has been really good, and his staff, how they've been teaching it this off season and preseason, is to really, really execute well in the red zone.
Last year, the Giants were 25th in red zone defense. They were really good on third downs
Mm-hmm.
as a group. You know, I think about this, right? I still can't believe that the Giants are 2-point underdogs. The last I checked for a home opener against the Vikings. No disrespect to the Vikings, but they got Sam Darnold at quarterback, who is 1-1 lifetime against the Giants. And you know how we always kind of talk about fandom
Yeah.
and the negativity, even with the top 100 list, there's
Mm-hmm.
negativity. The fans are fans. Most fans are not that way. But I have two very good friends, Rob Sharp, my producer at Golf Channel, and Doug Lloyd, who is a longtime caddy on the PGA
Mm-hmm.
Tour and PGA Tour champions with Jeff Sluman. Now he's with Greg Chalmers. They're massive Vikings fans. So I sent them a picture yesterday of my boards, working on my depth charts in the
Sure.
cafeteria at the Giants,
Mm-hmm.
and I sent them the Vikings stuff, to get them kind of fired up for the season. And they both responded with, they started naming, Bradbury stinks. He's going to get blown away by Dexter Lawrence. Good grief, Sam Darnold. This is going to be a long season. Why did you put TJ Hawkinson in the depth chart when you know he's hurt? My buddy asked me. And I said, well, who knows? Maybe these teams will meet in the playoffs. And I get laughter back. Like, there's no way the Vikings are making the playoffs. They're finishing last in the division. I'm like, guys, it's week one.
Yeah. Yeah. This is where we are.
I said, your
Um,
team's favored.
this is the discourse probably throughout the league, unless you're well, Dallas fans are on a whole nother level with what they like and what they dislike. But it's kind of the way the discourse goes these days. you glass half empty. And listen, fans can do it however they want. But it's not a pleasant place. If you are a positive person that's rooting or wants the best for your team, and this is across the league, it's hard. It's hard to find that group that says, hey, let's see what happens. Let's give it our best. It's now, hey, we need to see something now, or last year you stunk, so we don't have expectations, prove us wrong. And that's fair. But that's where it is now. That positive group or that positive environment, it's mixed in now. It's just not a place where you can go on any team social media these days and really find just that positivity. Now, when a team starts winning, and again, I'm saying it's fair. When a team starts winning, everybody's on board. So when you're players in this league and you are surrounded by just a lot of skepticism, you just got to just basically close it off, circle the wagons, and say, hey, it's all about us. All we have is us, and those guys can come along if they like.
All right, in doing the Coach Daboll show, you did your deep dive into the Vikings. Let's talk about them from a defensive standpoint, because again, when the Giants last played the Vikings, they were winning a playoff game in Minnesota, and even on the Christmas Eve game that they lost,
Mm-hmm.
what did Daniel Jones throw for, you know, almost 300 yards in that game? Actually, he threw for 334 in that loss, 301 in the playoff win. This is like a whole different defense. It is a new defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, and you had a chance to look at it pretty closely.
Yeah, and I know Coach Flores well. He's a very aggressive thinker. His approach is pressure, pressure, pressure. Even when it's not pressure, you're going to feel like it is. And what he does, he's a high volume blitz guy. He blitzes with six, he blitzes with eight. Sometimes he'll put nine at the line of scrimmage and make you think, just depending on your formation, that they're all coming. And the one thing that impresses me about the way they pressure, if they put eight guys at the line of scrimmage, you won't know until you know who's coming. And I say that when I say that is that even the guys who are not coming will run into the line of scrimmage and engage, and then they pull out. So it's not one of those deals where a guy just, we call it sugar at the line of scrimmage, where you don't, you kind of know he's coming. If he does come, you'll see him a mile away. These guys, they all go in and they just literally engage everybody at the line of scrimmage, and then they pull out. So it's going to be a real test for this offensive line in terms of their assignments, in terms of their communication. And the communication has to come from inside out. So you got your center out to your tackles, and then you've got your wide receivers who also have to be communicative with the whole group as well. And thankfully, they're at home, so crowd noise won't be an issue. But Daniel Jones can't make mistakes. They've got to have a plan, and I know they'll have a plan going in. There's going to be pressure. So folks, the Giants probably won't be perfect against this pressure, but there are going to be some opportunities. And then, when he's not pressuring, and Phil Simms talked a lot about this in our preseason broadcast, or telecast, I should say. He talked about how zone defenses are somewhat more challenging to quarterbacks than man-to-man defenses, and it's more challenging to quarterbacks than blitzing, because you can find your weaknesses in a blitz once you figure it out. he said with zone defense, it's just muddies everything up. And what Brian Flores does when he does 8 in coverage, it's just guys out there, and it looks like, a minefield. It's just, your receivers are going and they're just running into another guy, another guy, another guy. So that coverage, when he goes 8 in coverage, that only means they have 3 guys rushing. And so I think Daniel Jones will have a great opportunity, and I'm pretty sure they're going to put this in. Um, he's going to run through that. He's going to run, get some yardage, keep the sticks moving, because when they go into that 8, they drop 8. They got 1 spy, and you've got 2 offensive linemen who are uncovered. So you're going to release one of those offensive linemen, and he goes through there. You're going to block the spy, and it's going to be an 8-9 yard gain. And then when they try to do something different, that's when you can manipulate the defense. But it can be challenging, trying to pass against those minefields out there. It's just, receivers just getting passed off when you got 8 guys in coverage, and they want to limit you to a check down or something like that. But I'm sure Daboll has a plan for that. But I wouldn't be shocked if you see Daniel Jones use his legs against that 8-man pass rush. I mean, 8-man coverage scheme.
Yeah, I mean, they have 2 potential veteran Hall of Famers in their secondary. Stephon Gilmore, 31 career picks, 5-time Pro Bowler, former Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time first-team All-Pro, who they signed on a 1-year deal. And then, although Harrison Smith isn't the same player that he was, 35 years old and still trying to get it done, this guy has a chance to go to the Hall of Fame as well. If you're not mentally sharp, these guys are going to bait you into mistakes.
Sure. Now, we contrast that with 2 really experienced defensive backs versus 3, 4 really fast wide receivers. And if you're executing the way you should, you're going to challenge those older defensive backs. Experience comes in when you, the younger player, are prone to mistakes. But if you're doing your job and you challenge those guys, um, Father Time is undefeated. But you've got to beat Father Time. You've got to show Father Time that it ain't working the way it used to. And the only way you do that as a young player is you've got to execute your assignments, and you do it aggressively. You'll have some opportunities. The young Stephon Gilmore, and I'm not discounting anything that he is today, but I'm sure this version of Stephon Gilmore doesn't want to see all matchups. He's probably studying Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, Slayton, and Malik Neighbors. He's got to do work on all of those guys because they all bring different things based on where they're lined up. So he's got, he could be any one of those guys. And I'm sure they're not going to leave him one-on-one with Malik Neighbors. Maybe they will, but my guess is, knowing Brian Flores the way I do, and he comes from that kind of Belichick philosophy of taking away the biggest threat to your defense and managing after that. And so what they probably will do is do some kind of bracket coverage on Neighbors and try to see if they can live with the other 3 guys, which I'm not sure they can if they execute. So that's Coach Daboll's task, is to create a scheme knowing that, one of his guys may get doubled, and how do you get that guy open, or how you get the other guys a big old meal to feast on.
So let's go to the other side of the ball, because obviously Sam Darnold, for his career, has a 78 quarterback rating, passer rating. He's a just under 60% career completion guy in his 56 starts, 63 touchdowns, 56 interceptions, 149 sacks, 21 and 35 as a starting quarterback. But he does have Justin Jefferson, and he
Mm-hmm.
does have Aaron Jones. And when Aaron Jones is healthy, Aaron Jones is a nightmare. Um, as you study Jefferson, he just does certain things that the Giants are going to have to be very disciplined with because he can make you look silly.
As I said, there are going to be some big plays. You got a young secondary, and I can tell you now, the route running of Justin Jefferson is going to have you second guessing what you see. I mean, this guy at the top of his route, he can give you a lot of different looks. He can sell you on a deep post and turn it into a comeback. And I mean, his subtle body movements can really twist a corner up. You just got to make sure your safeties are over the top on this guy all the time because he's the one when the ball's in his hand, he's looking to score every single catch. But he's a guy now. Adoree Jackson had some success with him, but that was a different defensive coordinator too. So the Giants have a different defensive scheme as well. So we'll see how that works. And Adoree's, 5 days into this season, no camp. So I'm not sure what they're going to do in terms of his workload or who they're going to match him up against. And yes, you can say he's in shape, but do you really want to risk putting him one-on-one all the time with Justin Jefferson?
No.
Because that's a whole lot of running, for a guy that ain't done a whole lot of covering against the likes of a Justin Jefferson. Now, if he were in training camp and he had to run up and down the field with Jalen Hyatt and Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton, yeah, I say, yeah, put him out there. But right now, I'm sure they're going to have to do some things to help wherever he's going to be on the field too, because I don't think he's going to be a guy that's traveling with anybody.
No, especially with the limited amount of work he's gotten in. You're
Mm-hmm.
100% right. Obviously, this offensive line is something that we're going to really zero in on here because it's been reconfigured. They've added a bunch of veteran players. They've added guys that have legitimate NFL starting experience. And so far, from what we've seen throughout camp and in the preseason, is a much more connected offensive line, which then leads us to Daniel Jones and decision making and everything else. But what's one of the things that you're most excited for to see play out in this game on Sunday?
Uh, Devin Singeltary behind this offensive line. Can the Giants play ball control when they need to control the ball? And this, again, um, Singletary is super impressive in a kind of a non-glorified way. He's just a productive player, and you're not really impressed with him um, on the eye test, but then when you cut on the film and you just see it's always positive yardage. He's always very disciplined in how he runs the football, making sure that he doesn't take a lot of uh, bad steps or guesses. He's where he's supposed to be. He's in the pocket of his offensive lineman, and he gets what they give him, and he just keeps moving the chains. And that's
It's
not to say,
interesting.
I was going to say, that's not to say he's, not a very good running back. He is, but just his style is just he's built to move the chains for your team. And he's not going to be the guy that breaks out for 80-yarder, but can he get you a 25-yarder? Absolutely.
Yeah, his career long is 51. It's interesting because he played at Florida Atlantic, and at the time, his offensive coordinator, the head coach was Lane Kiffin, and his offensive coordinator was Charlie Weiss Jr., Coach Weiss's son. And I remember when he was coming out, Charlie just kept telling me, you got to see this kid at Florida Atlantic. Teams are going to sleep on him. And he's probably not going to go until late second, early third. But whoever gets him is going to be happy to have him. Buffalo wound up taking him.
Mm-hmm.
And, he had a really good year last year in Houston. Houston felt that they needed to upgrade that position, so they went with Joe Mixon. But Singletary is just like he's a pro's pro.
Yeah.
And I think, having him in that room with Tracy, the rookie out of Purdue, the former wide receiver, and Eric Gray has looked better. I think they're looking at a compilation of people,
They
not
will.
a main feature guy.
Yeah, and that's also something that will cause defense to really pay attention because different guys will do different things. And, again, Coach Daboll is so multiple in the way he scripts his offense or he designs his offense. So you'll see guys, a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson could be a running back one play and literally take a handoff or go out for a pass from the backfield. So there are so many different things in their running backs will be wide receivers at times. So they want to create confusion. And not every play looks the same, even though there's some times where you say, okay, they're going to change the personnel. But if you look at one guy, it's going to be the same play. They're just window dressing. Not with Brian Daboll. If it looks different, it's probably going to be different. And it's sometimes it's the window dressing. It's the same play, but not with Daboll. He literally uses every crayon in the box when he's getting creative.
You got anything else about this game per se? I mean,
No, I mean, listen, my expectations, I expect the Giants to win the game. It's probably going to be ugly. They got to win ugly, and there's going to be some things that you're going to be like, oh boy, we better get better at this. But you always want to have that comment after a victory, not after a loss. So they're at home. You want to give the fans something to be positive about. Win the game, because that's the only thing right now that a fan base that has, they've been beaten up quite a bit, in terms of the losses, and they're bitter. And, there's not a lot of optimism, but it's more of a show me what you guys can do, and we'll be quiet type thing. And the national discourse is kind of slanted against the Giants, wanting to make them look like um, buffoons. Everything, 5 months after free agency, there's a report, that comes out, and it's, about the Giants offering another running back money, which most people in their right mind know that didn't happen because Joe Shane just doesn't feel that running back should be paid that much money anyway. So, but that's, and then it just stirred up the fan base even more. So, go out and win the game. I know, having been in locker rooms as a player, when the world is against you, even your own fans, and this is not a negative thing because, again, the fans are justifiably upset. They can pick anything out of the last 10 years and be upset about it, right? But being in a locker room when you know this is what you have to deal with, you circle the wagons and you say, all we have is us, and the rest of them will come along when we start winning football games. And until then, it's just going to be, you're going to catch strays. It's just as simple as that. Go out and win the football game.
yeah, I mean, look, from a fan standpoint, right? The team is kicking off the 100th season. You're playing a team in the Minnesota Vikings that is not one of the heavyweights in the NFL, at least on paper.
Mm-hmm.
They're in your weight class, something we
Yep.
always talk about. They
Mm-hmm.
are in your weight class. This is just such an important game on so many different levels because for the Giant fan, I was doing a little research, and when the Giants opened the season up at home, not their home opener,
Mm-hmm.
week one of an NFL season, they haven't won a week one home game since 2010
Mm-hmm.
when they beat the Carolina Panthers 31-18. Obviously, last year they lost to Dallas. In 21, they lost to Denver. In 20, they opened at home, lost to Pittsburgh. In 18, they opened at home against Jacksonville. They lost. And obviously, after winning Super Bowl 46 in 2012, they opened it home on a Wednesday night, not a Thursday night, because of I think it was the Republican National Convention. And they lost to the Cowboys 24-17. So you got to go back to 2010 when the Giants opened up a season at home in week 1 that they won. And I think the fans, rightfully so, want to see the season get off to a good start
Yeah, I
against
mean,
a team in their weight class.
yeah, and listen, they just the majority of fans just need something to say, okay, I feel a little bit better. Now, there's going to be a few, not a lot, that nothing will be good enough. Even in a win, it won't be good enough. But for those who um, have been beaten down for 13 years, 14 years, that just don't feel like, this thing is going in the right direction, they want to see something positive. You win the game and you win it ugly or you win it however you have to win it, those fans are going to come along. Those fans are going to be the ones that says, okay, we got one, let's get better at it, right? And they might still have some criticisms, but now those criticisms are directed towards winning the next game and how to put together a good season, and not, the handful that says, well, you're going nowhere anyway. Yeah, this was a bad team, but you win the games that's on your schedule, and that's what's important. And I think the majority of the fans, even those who are really bitter right now, each victory kind of takes the bitterness out. And they want to root for this team. And you just got to give them a reason to want to root for you.
I got a little message here. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline is every stat, matchup, live odds, and spreads to bet on during games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on a $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. Now, when the game's over, head on over to their online casino, get in on the game of blackjack, poker, unwind with one of their 150 slot games. Head to the website today, get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. So let's talk a little bit about the gear right now. I got
Okay.
100 season G3 apparel. You got on a sweatshirt. Let's talk
Mm-hmm.
about some of the exciting things you got going.
Well, if you're coming to the Fan Fest, you're going to have a lot of fun. We've got a lot of fun stuff for the fans that are going to be at Fan Fest. We have a customizable 100-year, 100 season T-shirt. We have a world-renowned graffiti artist who created this whole New York City backdrop. His name is Stephon. And when you get to the area of the Fan Fest, you'll have an opportunity to have uh, whatever they graffiti, they stencil or spray paint your Giants logos on your shirt. So uh, it's a really cool feature that's only available at the Fan Fest.
So
I think
where is this going to be when you get into the stadium? You know,
it's right in the main area. Like when you
the
walk
West
in,
entrance.
the West entrance, the main gate where you kick the field goals and Brandon London and the DJs are out front. That's where the mood. I guess it's called the Moody's Gate now.
Okay.
Um, so when you come in, there's going to be a whole setup for starter, and you'll see, and we'll have an embroidery station in the one of the lounges for season ticket holders. But this unique 100th anniversary um, graphic that Skep One did is just phenomenal. It's just a whole New York City motif. And if you know anybody that tags, they get really creative with this graffiti. And then you have about, I think, 3 or 4 choices of what they can finish the graphic off with. They left an opening so that you could pick how you wanted the rest of the shirt done on site. And so that's there. There will be also in the pro shop more Giants 100 gear in 1925. And then I think tomorrow, let's say, I would say by Friday, um, the Giants are rolling out a whole nother t-shirt collection. We tried to follow every time you announced the segment of the top 100 players. We wanted to kind of story tell around some of that stuff. So we have I think another four t-shirt graphics around, just history of the Giants, and it's just some really cool stuff that we have. So you guys pay close attention to Giants this week, Giants.com this week, and I think they will be rolling out another series of t-shirts.
So now, obviously, you have the customized shirt set up where so you can go
I'm
get that
excited
done.
about that.
You can go into the team store for more of the starter 1925
And
100 season
100th,
stuff.
yep, yep.
So that'll be on sale all season in the team store.
While supplies last, yes.
Okay, all supplies left. Usually
And
your supplies go fast.
but this next group of t-shirts are really good. I think I previewed the one of Wellington Mara, but
Yeah,
there are
I love
about
that one.
four other ones that are really, really nice. So those are rolling out this week. And I think in a couple more weeks we'll have another batch of graphics that come out. So it's gonna be fun. Um, all season long around the 100th anniversary. And, and just so that I know there's some concerns, obviously, people have to make sure they manage their finances. So, a lot of the t-shirts will be affordable. Some will be more premium than others, but there's going to be plenty within certain, price brackets. Like if you were on Home Shopping Network last weekend, you would have had this, a long sleeve t-shirt and a short sleeve t-shirt for like $60, right? So it was like
Really?
$20 a shirt, but it was bundled, right? And so, we want to make sure I definitely in my company, I want to make sure there's something for everybody. And if you go on the Home Shopping Network now, you probably can't find this three pack. If it is, it's probably in broken sizes, and it went to 5X because I was getting a lot of calls to make the product larger sizes. So we did that, and there's plenty of other stuff on Home Shopping Network within your budget that my company makes that goes up to 5X. So if you don't see anything, or if it's not within what you want to do um, financially at the Fan Fest, just go on HSN. But we have plenty, and I just it's important that fans know that it's not a money grab. We're doing something to celebrate um, the Giants. But everything I do, I want it to be quality, and I do put the fan first. In some areas, it's going to be more premium than others, but we want to make sure there's something for everybody.
Yeah, so you got a range. I mean, if you've
Yeah,
got disposable income, you can get premium stuff, but you're not leaving anybody out. People that are on a more strict budget, there are certain things that they can purchase and they can have and be part of the 100
yeah,
season team gear.
yeah, absolutely. And again, and I'll post in if you guys follow me on X, I always post my Home Shopping Network stuff, so everybody can see that. Because if you're a family with a lot of fans in the house, this three-pack would have been great, right? Because you can give everyone a shirt and you can exchange them amongst your family members. But there's more stuff, so I'll just periodically put on my either my Instagram or my X, links to product that fits within budgets, and there's plenty of it to go around. So just keep an eye out on that. The HSN Football Fan Shop is more affordable product, and you can get more bang for your buck if that's what you're looking for.
So the Fan Fest is Friday night.
Hmm.
If you don't have tickets, you can go to giants.com/fanfest because it's free.
Yeah.
So you just drive to the stadium, you walk in, you got all this cool stuff. You're going to see all of the 100 season Carl Banks wear. There's gonna be a million other things going on. There's gonna be autographs. You can take a picture with the Super Bowl trophies. I think they're gonna have a locker room tour. They have so many things going on. Not to mention we're gonna have some chalk talks in the stadium throughout the night,
Yeah.
covering different eras of Giants football, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then for those players that are present and family members of the deceased of the top 100, everyone's going to get introduced. But this drone show, I didn't really know much about drone shows, but they have this 8-minute drone show that's going to cover the 100 seasons of Giants football from the logo to,
Really?
to the evolution of the helmet to great moments in Giants history. And it's scored to music with some calls in it. And I
Mm.
got a little sneak peek of what it's going to kind of look like. And it's amazing. So that's going to run after we introduce the top 100 Friday night, and then immediately following that, the fireworks go, and that's how they're going to wrap up the evening. So if you can't get to the game on Sunday, if you don't have access to tickets to the game on Sunday, but you're really fired up, it's a cool thing to bring the family, the kids to on Friday night because it costs you nothing to get
Yeah.
in and to experience this. There'll be some current players there that are going to do a chalk talk. And then Sunday for game day, I mean, I'm I'm kind of getting goosebumps already thinking about what's going to happen at halftime, where the top 100 and family members of the deceased are all going to be there, all of them. Like
That's
there's some
awesome.
guys that can't come on Friday because they either coach high school football teams, their kids have games, sporting events, and totally understand that. But everybody's coming on Sunday.
That's so
What's
awesome.
it? I mean, well, you're going to be out there,
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
and we're
awesome.
not we're not doing it by number because uh, we've already released the top 100 and the order, and it'll kind of be that way on Friday night. We've got a little
Mm.
twist on how this is all going to unfold on Sunday at halftime. So you and I will have to leave the booth at 2-minute warning,
Yeah.
go downstairs, stand on the Vikings sideline, watch the game from down the field where you realize you can't see anything if it's on the opposite side of the field and away from you. And it's like when fans get all upset about coaches like not why didn't you challenge that? Well, you can't see anything on the field
Yeah.
unless it's
Yeah.
right in front of you. There's not a lot to see, which is why they have coaches up in the
Yeah. Up
box.
in
But
the
that'll be fun.
box. Yeah. I'm excited about that. And I know you know, you guys have taken a lot of criticism about where people were ranked and things of that nature. And I was tagged in something. Um,
Yeah, about Pepper not being higher or whatever.
yeah, and so here's my position, right? And I'm sure Pepper feels the same way. I'm on that list, and I would trade my place with anybody on that list, and especially Pepper Johnson, because I don't care. Like I'm on that list. I think everybody is worthy that's on that list. So you can sort them out however. I'm grateful to be considered one of the top 100 players in the history of this franchise. So wherever I fall, I'm good. So if you want to move anybody above me, I'm just talking from a fan perspective, go right ahead. It's as long as you don't move me off that list, I'm good. And I would trade my spot with Pepper any day. So he knows that, and he would do the same for me. But we're both on that list, and I just don't look at it in terms of ranking.
Yeah, it's a list. It's a list by vote. And whoever got
Hmm.
the most votes finished first, and whoever got the
Yeah.
second most votes finished second. It was not people sitting around going, I think this guy should be higher and this one should be here.
Yeah.
Because if you start doing that, we started this process literally. We started the initial voting process last September,
Mm-hmm.
and it took months to get it down to the top 100. And because there was names that were added to the ballot a little bit later on, because I said to all the voters, I said, look, if there's some names that aren't on the ballot, send me an email, write a paragraph, make a case backed by fact, and I'll bring it to the committee and I'll say, should we include this player? And
Mm-hmm.
so we added a whole bunch of players, and some of them made the top 100 that were not on the initial ballot.
Oh, wow.
Um, and and then there's some guys that just missed,
Mm.
and there's nothing you can do about it, because if you're going to do it straight up as a vote with point totals, you have to let it stand. Because if
Yeah.
once you start saying to yourself, well, I'm going to move this guy into the top 100, and then all of a sudden you look at it and say, yeah, but how are you moving that guy out? Like
Right.
you can't do it. So we just made it math.
Yeah.
Most points, won it, and so on and so forth. Anyway, that's all I got. You got anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, go to the Fan Fest. Take a look at all this 100 season stuff, the graffiti art, customized shirts being done
Mm-hmm.
by Banks's team, and the drone show. Going to be a lot of fun. All right, how do we like to end this?
Tell a friend to tell a friend. Believe in
Believe in
Giants.
Giants.